interesting topic to me, and I'm sure it's even more intriguing to you. And it's a question I'm asked 2 or 3, 4 times a week. Why don't executive recruiters call? That's a good topic, and it's a topic of conversation that I could keep you busy till breakfast Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. But we'll cut it down to an hour. So I bet many of you have been approached by an executive recruiter, and the conversation seemed promising, and then there was a deathly hush, a long silence, and you wait for that call, and it never comes. And I know how frustrating that can be, and I hear it all the time. People want to tear their hair out, and it can be very frustrating if you're in career transition, you are already on a certain amount of stress. So have you tried endless times to call an executive recruiter and left messages, but no return call? So how many times can you relate? How many can relate to these 2 scenarios? I'm sure that several of you can. So today I'm going to open up the reasons behind these 2 scenarios and more, and look at it from both the executive recruiter side and you as the candidate side. So the recruiter's perspective and the candidate side. So we'll explore how to build and maintain relationships with executive recruiters to ensure your long-term career success. Because once you've formed a relationship with an executive recruiter, they can play a huge role, along with people like me who support executive recruiters, can play a huge role in managing and advancing your career. So in short, having a vibrant dialogue relationship with several executive recruiters can bring significant rewards to your career and your advancement and help you meet your ambition. So here's a quote: "Executive search is built on trust and credibility. Relationships transform transactional interactions into meaningful partnerships." So let me read that quote back to you again. Executive search is built on trust and credibility. Relationships transform transactional interactions into meaningful partnerships. So part 1, we're going to look at the recruiters, the executive recruiters' perspective. Why don't they call back? Firstly, as you all know, there is only 24 hours in a day, doesn't matter where you live in the world, and executive recruiters generally work very long hours and even on weekends to meet their clients' obligations. And some of those obligations can be very demanding. So the priority for them is not you as the candidate, it's their clients, because their clients are paying a lot of money to go for the executive recruiter to go and source talent. And I'll talk about how they source that talent towards the end of the webinar. So let me set it straight from the start. Executive recruiters work for the companies, or they call them clients, not the candidates. That's you. So they don't work for you. Okay, so you are just a sidebar in their overall relationship building, but you need to get on their radar. So the primary focus is filling roles for their clients, and which means that they prioritize interaction with candidates, with potential candidates who align closely with the job requirements set and specific, very specific by their clients. So they set it jointly before they actually advertise the job or it goes public. They work together to do the job notice and what the client is wanting, etc. And it's a very detailed job specifications, and they're very, very, very tight as well. They have a set number of boxes to fill, and if you don't fill all those boxes, then you probably won't be included in the candidate pool. So an example, a recruiter may have reached out to gauge interest, but later realized that the candidate that could be you listening today, wasn't an ideal fit for the role. Therefore, you probably won't be getting a return phone call. So they could touch base with quite a few people. So please feel free to put comments as we go through this webinar. I'm more than happy to answer them towards the end. And if you want me to clarify anything, that's fine too. So volume of outreach. So recruiters embark on a hunt for potential candidates for an initial pool, often contacting dozens of candidates for one single role. They may not have the time to follow up with everybody after that initial call, that initial interaction, whether it be by email, via LinkedIn messaging, or by a telephone call. Especially if their initial outreach, the first part of their project to get talent, was exploratory. Then they form the initial pool, which can be close to 30 or even 40 people. They then whittle that down through more intense research, looking on your LinkedIn, and we're going to talk about the importance of LinkedIn in this process in a few minutes. They then whittle that down to, say, 15 to 20 candidates. And then at this time, they then go into a deep dive research mode. They conduct further research into each person's candidacy, often with a telephone call or a Zoom, Teams, WebEx interview. And these interviews can be short, they can be long, so be prepared. Always give executive recruiters your time. That list, after that initial research and calls, interaction, then is cut down to cut further down to about 8 to 12 candidates, where the interviewing then becomes more intense. And it can be very intense, and it can involve multiple rounds with these 8 to 12 candidates. So depending on the geography, most interviews have returned to in-person after COVID, but sometimes geography inhibits an in-person meeting during this round. An in-person will come a little bit later. So be prepared for a long haul. It doesn't happen overnight. There are executive recruiters who specialize in interim positions, but and those can be overnight. So I've often had executive recruiters call me, and they want talent by the following morning or on the Friday for the Monday. But that's a totally different type of executive recruitment. But each of the big firms normally have an interim management, maybe 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 executive recruiters who specialize in nothing else but interim. So then that list gets cut further from that 8 to 12 down to 4 to 6, who then proceed to the in-person interviews by the client. So they're then transferred from the executive recruiter to the client. And the potential employer, the client, is supported by an extensive written report on each candidate from the executive recruiter. Now, during that prior stage, when it's 8 to 12, often you will get what they call psychological tests. I call them career tests, but because psychological tends to scare people, but they are psychological tests, and there's many different types of psychological tests. So here's a word of advice. This whole executive recruitment process or journey can be very lengthy. It can, going up to the worst scenario, can be up to 5 months in total. So patience during this process is very, very, very necessary. Patience is a virtue. So don't, just because you're intimated, the executive recruiter intimates that you may be the perfect candidate. Don't stop. This is a cardinal sin. Don't stop your job search, especially if you are in career transition, i.e. unemployed, because that can be a complete waste of time. You need to keep on going, and maybe you can get yourself into multiple offers. And then if this job comes to fruition, you can bounce this job off on other offers. Now, why are you not called? If you were in the initial large and first pool and contacted but failed to make to the next stage. So that's one of the reasons why you're not called, due to the time, and it's time only. It's not that executive recruiters, they're human beings, and they're relationship builders too. They want to speak to as many people, but time is of the essence here. Their time, just like your time, my time, and everybody else's time, is limited. And they can carry 4 or 5, 6 or 7 projects. So they're looking for many different candidates for different clients. So generally, as a result of that large pool, you won't receive a call on reasons why. And then sometimes executive recruiters, their client companies may halt hiring due to budget cuts, what about restructuring or shifts in strategy or their process. So these changes can leave recruiters unable to provide continuance with their search. But at least they have you, and you've been interviewed, and they know you. That's one of the benefits. And then human error. Let's not, we all make mistakes. So executive recruiters are human too. So they might forget to follow up or make clerical errors in scheduling. Their schedule, I've seen it. I work with executive recruiters extensively, can be almost to the minute. And, they've got certain 4, 5, 6 or 7 appointments a day. So they are to the minute. So it could be a clerical error in scheduling. So do you want feedback? Now, it's always a good idea to get feedback. Yes, but it would be nice. But again, it's a time issue. Plus, recruiters may avoid providing feedback after an interview due to potential legal, depending on the country and their internal processes, their internal standards, due to potential legal risks associated with sharing rejection reasons. But yeah, if you can get feedback from an executive recruiter why you didn't go to the next stage and the next stage and the last stage, that would be very useful. It's, you have to understand there's going to be some negativity attached to that, but you have to, that would be of great benefit to you, because negatives, you can turn a negative into a positive. So then follow up. So you should always, even if you don't hear from them, you should always, this is very, very important, send a thank you note by snail mail. Snail mail. Actually post it, mail it to the executive recruiter. So you know where their office is because of their website, you know their name. So you would then go Amazon, do some really good and very reasonable thank you notes, and thank them for the time, because you're solidifying your name mentally in their mind. And when another job, another project from another client or the same client comes back, you're in their memory bank. And that's what you need to do. It's all part of the relation of maintaining that relationship and keeping it going. So send a thank you note by snail mail after the conversation or interview to express your gratitude and reinforce if you're going to go towards the next stage, reinforce your candidacy, your interest in the particular job. It's snail mail. Well, when was the last question for you? when was the last time you received a thank you note by snail mail? You get them via email, but not by snail mail, and that will make an imprint on your mind when you get something. So it's good to get something by post. All my clients, I make sure I send them a snail mail thank you note. So when was the last time you got a snail mail? Probably many long years ago. So what do recruiters value in candidates? I think it's pertinent to speak on how executive recruiters source talent. Okay, many people don't know how they go about sourcing talent. So let me lead you through the steps. First of all, number one, they look on their firms, their recruitment firms' internal database, entering specific business, skill-based or industry-based or functional-based buzzwords to extract their resumes or CVs, depending on where you are in the world. In Asia and certain parts of Europe, Middle East, they're called CVs. Here in North America and all the Americas, they're called resumes. So they meet so that resumes, hopefully, if your resume it fits their criteria, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a couple of minutes, you will then come out in their job description, and then they will print it up and they will put it in you in the talent pool. This is the reason why you need to have your resume ATS friendly. Now, in the last 2 to 3 years, I've been in business now 31 years. Resumes have changed more in the last 2 to 3 years than they have done in the last 28 years or so. Why? Is because they're read by scanning machinery. So your resume, if you're set to send to any of the big, any executive recruiters, more than the one-man shop, they're generally fed into a computer and they're pulled out based on buzzwords. So if you don't have an ATS-friendly resume, your chances, you may be the perfect candidate. You may have all those skills that they're looking for in that talent, in that client request, but you won't come out, so you're going to miss out. So you need to have an ATS friendly resume. And on the banner here, you can see I'm more than happy to give you 30 minutes on Zoom. Send your resume to me to that address below, and I'm more than happy to give you a 30-minute, no obligation, free critique. And over Zoom, doesn't matter where you are in the world. And but mention in the subject line that you were here on this webinar today. So this is the reason why you need to have an ATS friendly, and otherwise you won't be found. And as you update your resume periodically, and I say at least once a year, preferably every 6 months, send it to the executive recruiter or their firm and to enter into their database. So number two, they then approach professionals working in the same position at the competition. So let's use banks as an example. Each country has many different banks, and there are people doing the same job in this bank and this bank and this bank and this bank. So if they're looking for somebody at this bank, they will call people at this bank, and this bank. Same level, same function, same responsibilities. This can also be professionals who they, through their network, because executive recruiters just like me have extensive networks, they can show potential. So they may go one level down and see if that person is eligible. They feel comfortable in pushing them to the next level. So from, say, associate vice president to vice president, or vice president to senior vice president, or whatever. So they may go lower down, one level lower down, but they go to the competition, and then they open up more talent and bring more talent into their pool that way. So, and then sometimes, because it's a confidential recruitment, they cannot mention the client's name. You can ask when the initial conversation, and you should always have dialogue with an executive recruiter. Never fail not to have a dialogue. If they call you, you need to open up dialogue. Even though you may not be looking, you need to have an extensive conversation with them, because you can get on their database. You can sneak in and get on their database, even though you may not currently be on their database. But there may be a confidential recruitment. What is a confidential recruitment? So they've been engaged by their client to find talent to replace someone who's already in that position, and that person doesn't know they're going to be replaced. So that's why it's kept highly confidential. So they can't let that company name, the entity, out in the open. So this is your time during that conversation, if they approach you, to ask probing questions on the appointment and refresh or start a relationship with an executive recruiter. And tell them what your career goals, your ambition is, and what your unique promise of value, your differentiator. Why should they engage you over everybody else? So this is your time to really start that dialogue if you haven't already got a relationship with that executive recruiter. Be open and be honest about your career intentions. So, and then if it isn't a fit at that particular time, you're happy in your job and you've just been promoted, or there's no time, you don't need to move around right now. Tell them, be open, be honest, and say, look, I'm just having a great time. I'm really delivering results at ABC Bank or XYZ Bank. I don't think it's the right time, but please keep me on your database, and may I send you my resume for you to put in the database? And they will. Okay. If you can provide a colleague, somebody who you think would be perhaps the perfect candidate for that job that job that they've outlined already, then that would be good, and they like that, because that saves them a little bit more research. So and that would be good for your colleague as well. So if you can refer a name of a colleague or two, they can contact the recruiter. The recruiter would love you. The more information you can provide to an executive recruiter, the better. So number 3, next, they search social media with an emphasis on LinkedIn, but occasionally Facebook. In fact, Facebook is becoming an increasingly used database or research tool for executive recruiters. But let's concentrate on LinkedIn. So executive recruiters have a totally different type of LinkedIn that you and I have. They spend almost tens of thousands on a very, very sophisticated search tool that can narrow it down to a zip code, a postal code, and very, very particular skills, one word in your profile, etc. So it's a very sophisticated version that can drill down to specifics. However, this is important. You won't be found, and I want to emphasize this. If you're going to take nothing else away from this seminar today, take this away. You won't be found if you have a very basic and inactive profile without a professional picture, a customized LinkedIn URL. You are posting, you are creating posts, sharing posts, commenting on posts, and you have that fully complete from top to bottom. Remember that a LinkedIn profile, unlike a resume or a CV, is pageless. You can go from top to bottom, endless text. The more text you put in, the more the Google algorithm, the more the LinkedIn algorithm will pick you up. So you need to go and fill that profile up. If you want a free audit on your LinkedIn, I'm more than happy to do that. I would welcome that opportunity. I also have somebody on my staff who's a qualified, certified LinkedIn profile writer. So if you ever wanted your profile rewritten, she knows how to get all that maximum traction, the maximum traffic. So don't be interactive. Be active with a fully complete profile. Now I have here, you can probably see this here. This is the amount of text that you can put in for each section. If anybody wants one of this here, you put your email and tell me that you want the LinkedIn profile text, and I will send it to you. So this gives you the amount of text you can fill in. So each job description, let's home in on one here, 2,000 characters, 2,000 characters. I bet probably the bulk of the people here today have only got maybe 50 to 100, maybe maximum of 200, where you can fill out 2,000. And then what is very important is your LinkedIn headline. That is heavily Googled and heavily LinkedIn algorithm. So the 220 words or characters, fill that in. And you also need to have today recommendations. So if I see a profile or an executive recruiter sees a profile and the last recommendation was 2014, what is that going to tell me? That's not going to be very good for you. So you need to have your LinkedIn profile fully complete. And don't be interactive on LinkedIn. You need to use it, even when you're gainfully employed. Now, you don't need to use it as much as when you are in career transition, i.e. unemployed. But it's there for you to use and use it. So executive recruiters look on LinkedIn and they type in the buzzwords. If you haven't got that skills section fully complete, you won't be found. They type in very specific skills. Now, you're allowed 100 skills on LinkedIn, but the magic number for Google and LinkedIn algorithms is 69. So not soft skills, but hard skills, business skills. So play a game with yourself and imagine that you are looking for yourself on LinkedIn. What business, functional, skill, level, specific buzzwords, business buzzwords, keywords would you type in to have your LinkedIn profile found by an executive recruiter? So LinkedIn is a prime resource. So my question to you, will you be found on LinkedIn? I bet some of you today who are attending here today won't be found on LinkedIn. So as the global economy slides down, your network, which should include executive recruiters, they can bring a huge value to your career. So never lose contact with them. So it's another way of being in contact with them. And then every 6 months or so, send an executive. Once you've built that relationship with an executive recruiter, send them an email stating that you're career bound and you're ambitious and whatever. You're always looking out for the next opportunity, and we had a conversation in January or whatever, and then send them a STAR story. So what I call a STAR story: situation, task, action, result, which should be in your resume, and that's your accomplishments. So you should be active on LinkedIn, sharing. So the 3 pillars on LinkedIn are commenting, sharing, and creating content. So now let's look at it from your perspective, the candidate's perspective. This is why you feel frustrated. So that lack of communication from the other end, from the executive recruiters. This is a frequently asked question, and this is the reason why I'm doing this seminar today, the webinar today. There are several reasons why they don't call. Firstly, it's often not that they don't want to know you, but it's time that prohibits them from returning your calls. So this is going to be an eye-opener to you. This is where you're going to get a reason why often they don't call you. An average executive recruiter who's got quite a reputation, gets, been in business maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years or far more, gets on average, receives on average every day, 45 and up unsolicited resumes or CVs every weekday from business professionals seeking to get on their radar and have a conversation. So position yourself as an executive recruiter and sit behind their desk. If they gave each of those 45 and up people, say 5 minutes of their time, which will probably invariably go to normally 10 minutes, because you can't keep a good conversation to 5 minutes, that is their full 8-hour day consumed. So if and when you send a resume and request a call or in-person meeting, the chances that you will receive a reply are low. That's the volume. Minimum of 45 resumes, new resumes, unsolicited resumes, CVs, every weekday. So put yourself at their desk, and now you perhaps understand why they don't contact you. So there is also an assumption that executive recruiters find you jobs. They don't find you jobs. That is not true. It's a misnomer. They, in a nutshell, are talent sourcing agents and connectors for their clients. So they don't go, they're not job search strategists like I am, go and prepare job search planning and all that jazz. They don't find jobs. They work for their clients, and that client sets them a specific job description, and they go on the hunt and they go and source those candidates, just like I've outlined. So be strategic, build relationships, and frequent messaging with executive recruiters and put executive recruiters in your overall career plan. Here again, I bet probably only 1 or 2 of you, if there's 20 of you on, 1 or 2 of you have got a career plan. You just live from day to day, and hope you're not going to be terminated or laid off. So a cardinal sin in career management is frantically trying to connect with an executive recruiter in the moments or the days after you are downsized. This is a very incorrect time, as you will most likely show desperation as well, because being terminated is not a good thing, and mentally, emotionally, it does have repercussions. So you need to settle all your emotions and your mental ability down before you can really open up in a job search. So what message does that send to an executive recruiter if you are, you've got desperation? That's not good. So first impressions count. For building long-term relationships, to build relationships with multiple, not just one, but multiple executive recruiters while, this is crucial, while employed and not unemployed, i.e. in career transition. So I will provide some strategies on how to build those relationships and get on their radar in a few minutes. Share industry insights. I've sort of alluded to this. Share industry insights with them once every 6 months or so in an email with a star story to keep that relationship going. So, and tell them, you're always open to discussing opportunities that may be of a fit for your particular skills base, your particular talent. So be open, be honest. They appreciate that about your career goals and your salary expectations. So here are some strategies for building relationships with executive recruiters. Target the right recruiters. Now, there's a whole ton of them out there. So review the firm's website. There are global recruiters. So those are the Korn Ferries, the Spencer Stewart, the Egon Zehnder, the Russell Reynolds, the Spencer Stewart, the Heidrick and Struggles, the Algers and Bernstein, and one more, I can't remember who, but they are the global executive recruiters. And I won't touch base on if you want to go globally, because that is another, they can help you move globally from say, Canada to London or Dubai or wherever. But that would be a topic of another webinar. But so they and then there's the domestic recruiters, homegrown recruiters who specialize. They don't go outside that country borders. But one, well, say for instance, let's use where I am here in Canada. An executive recruiter in Toronto could be recruiting in Vancouver, and a Vancouver recruiter could be recruiting in Toronto. And there's 5 hours time difference between the two. So you need to find those executive recruiters that specialize in your function or industry, and then follow those executive recruiters on LinkedIn, and then look through the connections and uncover mutual connections, people who are already connections, and message them, those connections that are already in your LinkedIn, to see and if you know them well, if they are willing to introduce you to them. And then if you see that executive recruiter post something, comment on their posts. This is the way of getting traction, getting visibility. Then offline, use your network to see if anyone else is connected, maybe a colleague or an ex-colleague or something, or a friend or somebody at your church or whatever, and ask if it's possible for a joint email connection. So you need to really, networking is so crucial in your overall executive career management. So this is a good tip here. Most executive recruiters at all the large global and the large domestic recruiters have researchers. They want to be their future. They're young, and they want to be executive recruiters. They want to be promoted from researchers to the first associate recruiter, and then they have levels going up. So they are shared. Normally, they don't normally work for one executive recruiter. Normally, the big companies and the domestic firms, they share. They share one recruiter between 3 or 4 executive recruiters. I will answer your questions, Max, in a little while. And then so one researcher might work for 3 executive recruiters. So what you can do is you need to call the switchboard, the receptionist, and you need to ask them what is the name and the email and the phone number if you can get it. They probably won't give you the phone number, but they will most likely give you the email of the researcher working for Mr. Smith, who is the recruiter for finance. And then that's the way. And then you send them, you build a relationship with that researcher, and they are the ones who will facilitate your resume, your ATS friendly resume, going in to their database. So use researchers. They are junior, want to be executive recruiters who will facilitate most of that for you. Okay, they're more than happy to do that. That's part of their job. And they fill that database, and they do a lot of research for the executive recruiters, especially if an executive recruiter has got 5, 6, or 7 client projects, which it can be very time consuming. So they are the best way to get on the executive recruiter's radar, and they will facilitate your ATS friendly resume being entered into that firm's database. If it's not ATS friendly, when an executive recruiter is searching the database, generally your resume, your CV won't be found because they use ATS extensively. So you may, as I said earlier on, you might be the perfect candidate. You got 125% of the skills, but you won't be considered. Your resume won't come out when they do a search because it's not ATS friendly. Another way to attract executive recruiters and build relationship with executive recruiters is attend industry or function-based conferences. Often executive recruiters attend conferences, and this is the perfect way to in person meet that person, that executive recruiter, and introduce yourself and have some resumes, but don't shove your resume in their hands or your business card. As a protocol you need to have before you do that, because that's in my view it's very ignorant and not professional. So you need to be go to industry related conferences or events or symposiums or whatever, or trade shows. Then you need to be active. I alluded to this earlier on. You need to be active on LinkedIn. If you are not active on LinkedIn, the more active you are, the more Google will send you up that algorithm as well. So if you post 2 or 3 things, well, when you're in career transition, you should post minimum of 3 times a week. If you are in gainfully employed, I would suggest you post once, maybe twice a week. But be active on LinkedIn. And as I say earlier on, each section has a number of characters, not words. So the more text, the more LinkedIn algorithms will drive traffic to your profile. And then that's the way you're going to be found by executive recruiters when they type in specifics, skills for a particular talent search, one of their projects. So remain active, comment, share other people's posts, and that is the way you're going to you're going to be on their radar, and ramp the posts, the activity up when you are in career transition. And again, if anybody wants this, I'm more than happy to send it to them. This is all the characters for each section on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to send that to you. But put it in the comments and with your email, and I will send it to you. An executive recruiter, when building their talent pools, want to see a fully complete and active profile supported by recent recommendations. So if your last recommendation was 2014, even 2020, you need to update your recommendations. So in summary, the more visible you are, both in person and on social media, the more you will be found. Build relationships today when you're not when you don't need a job, and maintain those relationships. So every 6 months, just drop off, send off once you built that relationship, send off an email with a star story, situation, task, action, result, one of your performance-driven stories, and tell them that you're always looking for your next opportunity. So don't just drop off the face of the earth and expect to pick up dialogue after 5 or 6 years with an executive recruiter after 0 communications. That's not the way the world operates. So all at the executive level across the world, and there are many jobs available right now. So that sort of wraps it up. So anybody, please put. Some people are asking for this. Please put your email in the section. Otherwise, I won't know where to send it. So anybody got any questions? So let's ask. Let's see. How would you picture? So Max, how would you pitch a local executive recruiter on being considered as a candidate for a move abroad, assuming they work for a global firm? Okay, so that is that. I was thinking about doing a separate webinar on that, but what you do, and I believe, Max, you're associated with finance executive recruiters in Toronto. You would ask them, if you label a particular country, name a particular country, to send your resume to their counterpart in the UK or in Singapore or in Australia or wherever. So that's the way you would do it. Hopefully that will answer your question. They're more than generally, not every executive recruiter do it, but generally they will facilitate that for you. Okay, and so they will send it to their counterpart in whatever country you name. Where are we, Max? Those odds truly highlight the value of networking. Yeah, it's a numbers game. Sure it is. Can currently shift myself from marketing industry content to shifting my career as a tech industry analyst. Okay, good. Thanks for all your input here. Yes, there's some good input here. Anybody got on Antonio? Antonio, what are your thoughts on embedded URLs on a CV? No way. No, don't do that. No. Whether a hot link to click here. No, that's like a cardinal sin. No, we used to have many years ago. You used to put white buzzwords in white, but now ATS is the ruler of your resume, and you see ATS is so particular. If you go to my YouTube channel, Martin Buckland, there are some videos on ATS. So one character wrong, one line wrong, one bullet wrong, and you're gone. It's that specific. You can never be a computer, but you can at least try and match it. So, no, sorry, Antonio, no, don't do that. Or a cue card, no, to a digital virtual business card. No, a QR code is classed as a graphic, and each graphic on a resume, and you may have little graphics for your phone number, your email, and whatever. Each graphic creates an extra page. So you know, you may have a 2-page resume, which instantly goes to 6 or 7 or even 8 pages. So what is the best way? This is a good question. How to make an ATS resume ATS compliant, and how can I be sure the keywords on the job description are captured in the resume and constructed in a way that that ensure ATS picks them up? Go to my go to my YouTube channel, and all of you please press the subscribe button and also the bell button, where you will be notified of any future videos to come. And I'm actually going to record 100 1-minute videos in the next a couple of weeks. But you go there, and there's some ATS videos on ATS. But Peter, I'm more than happy to give you a free 30-minute, doesn't matter where you live in the world, free 30-minute, no obligation, no sales pitch, resume, CV critique. So send it to the address you've got on the screen here, and I'm more than happy. Just mention that we've, you were on this webinar, and I'd be happy to schedule. Send me 3 days and times that I'm Eastern time, and I work 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. each weekday. So because I work globally, so I'm more than happy to help you with your resume, give you 30 minutes of my time. But I say it as it is, because one mistake and you're gone. So if you want to really get it up to tip top, let's have a 30-minute conversation. So thank you, Harvey. That's I'm a Gen Z, and nobody really teaches this. No, they don't. Sadly, they don't. So hopefully I will hear from you. Great recommendations on the must-haves. Thanks, Martin. It's a pleasure. And so I do have another one. I've got lots scheduled throughout the year coming. Let me just see when my next one is. My next webinar is for my business. Where are we? Oh yeah, I haven't got it. Oh yeah, it's one that was cancelled due to the ice storm. It's going to be I have gaps, which is halting my career progress. I have gaps in my career, which is halting my career progress. But at 12 noon today, I am going on note this down, MBA -exchange, and this would be perfect for you, Just Darby. So MBA exchange, you have to register, and I'm talking about 12 noon. It's out of Geneva, and 12 noon Eastern time. I'm talking about the top 15 job search tips. So the top 15 job search tips, but you have to go and register with MBA-exchange.com. MBA-exchange.com. Okay, and that's the top 15 job search tips at 12 noon. So another couple of hours going on, facilitating another webinar. Top 15 job search tips. So anybody got any other questions? More than happy to answer them. If not, I'll be happy to provide you with a free, no obligation resume critique. Yeah, MBA exchange.com. MBA-exchange.com. Go on that, and then you have to register on their website. So anybody got any other questions? If not, I will wrap it up. Thanks for being with me today. I also am in the process every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. I'm talking about for the next couple of months, personal branding. So Monday, 9 a.m. for a couple of minutes. Tuesdays at 2 for about 20 to 30 minutes, talking about personal branding, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and then 2 p.m. on Fridays, talking about personal branding for the next 2 or 3 months. And then we move on to resume and CV writing. So thanks for being here. Good to see a couple of my clients, one from a long 20 years ago, and Max, a fairly recent client. So thanks for watching here today. Hopefully you've got some information. If you haven't, just email me and I'm more than happy to answer any emails. So have a great day and do something this week. Do something this week to manage your career. So perhaps go and review your LinkedIn. Start updating your LinkedIn. Put some extra skills in there where you will be found by executive recruiters. The magic number, forget about the 100 that they say, LinkedIn say, the magic number for the Google and LinkedIn algorithms is 69. 69 hard skills, not soft skills, which are your personal skills, your 69 business skills. So play a game with yourself and think about, well, if I was searching for my LinkedIn profile, what business, functional, skill, level specific buzzwords would I type in to have my LinkedIn profile come up? So I'll Danielle, this will be on YouTube. So it's this will be repeated on YouTube, so you can listen to everything I've said for the last 57 or so minutes. Great that you all attended, and thanks very much. Have a wonderful day and do something to manage your career today or this week.